Okay, welcome to another delicious desserts, courtesy of our good friend Terry Shanahan. These are our Paleo coconut macaroons. Pretty simple recipe, it's just kind of a couple step process. We're gonna need a few eggs, really just a couple tablespoons of egg whites really, some shredded coconut, some raw honey. I'm gonna use agave instead. You can use either one interchangeably. And we will also have some chocolate chips, obviously of a good nature, good source for some just kind of an added dipping at the end of all this. So to get started, it's a really basic and simple recipe. We're gonna take, I'm gonna use 2 eggs. We're just gonna crack them and use the egg whites only. So I'm just gonna kind of crack them into this bowl. And again, just to kind of get the egg white out, keep the yolk in there and just kind of play hot potato back and forth until there seems to be no more egg white left in the egg. So there's that little droopy piece there, if we can get it out. If not, that's okay. And I'm just gonna discard the yolks. And so this will give me about 3 tablespoons of egg whites based on my calculations. All right, so we've got our egg whites in. Give a little rinse. Next, we're gonna use 2.5 cups of shredded coconut. So I'm gonna use this, this is gonna assume to be almost 1 cup. So I'm gonna fill this up 2.5 times. For some reason I don't have measuring cups on me today. So I'll throw that in. And 2.5. Just having a quick check of the recipe, quick little gander. We're gonna throw in a little bit of sea salt. And we'll do a 1/4 cup of raw honey or agave. So I'll do about, just fill this up a little bit. That's about a 1/4 cup or so. And if it's a little bit more, oops. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mix all this up. So this is really simple. We're just gonna kind of mix all the coconut and the egg and the agave or the honey all together. Gonna let it all combine. And then we're gonna let this sit in the fridge for about 30 minutes. So this is a type of recipe where the entire length of it takes, a little bit longer, but again, the prep is really nothing at all. So you're getting this done you can actually get, the cool thing is, let's say you're making dinner, you kind of get this started with dinner, and then by the time dinner is done, this is all ready to go. So this is all pretty much mixed up, and we're gonna place this into the fridge. Once that's done in the fridge, we're gonna bring it back out. We're gonna kind of mold them into little balls, put them on the cookie sheets, throw them into the oven, and then we'll be ready to go. And then we'll finish it off with some dipping into some good old melted chocolate. So that is that. I'm gonna throw this over into the fridge, and then we'll give it a little bit of time, and we'll come back out and finish it off. Okay, so step 2 for our Paleo coconut macaroons. We've just taken them out of the fridge. They've solidified a little bit more, which allows them to kind of turn into a ball and hold that ball shape a little more nicely. First thing we're gonna do is, if you don't have parchment paper, you're gonna lubricate the cookie sheet or the baking sheet with a little bit of coconut oil. Again, we'll use our nifty little strategy here of taking a paper towel and just doing like this. Getting a little bit of a good old grease on there. Okay. So next, we will take, and again, you can make these monster size macaroons, or you can make the normal size, whatever you want to do. So you can just use your hand, get in there, and kind of bring them all together. Obviously, you want to make sure you wash your hands so that other people or yourself are not, eating your germs necessarily. So I'm going to use, that size or so, and I'll make however many I can of that size. So these will then sit in the oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. And as you do that, you can also, if you want, as a kind of a bonus to this recipe, is melt some chocolate in the meantime, which I will be doing. And then once these are done, take them out of the oven, and we're gonna dip them in chocolate, which is pretty cool, right? And then you can take them, and obviously the first thing you wanna do is eat them right away, which you can, because again, there's no rules that say you can't. But again, the recommended Procedure in this recipe is to then freeze them in the freezer for 30 minutes. So it's just taunting you the whole time. You're just like, oh my God, I want to eat you, but I can't because I have to put you in the oven, and now I got to put you in the damn freezer for 30 minutes. So it'll be well worth it once it's all done. So we'll probably get maybe 6 or 7 macaroons out of this. And if you think about it, I mean, these are relatively healthy. Obviously, they're in this cookbook for a reason. Right? We've got egg whites, we've got shredded coconut, and we've got a little bit of agave or honey. So, you know, other than the sweetness of the agave or the honey, you know, most of this is pretty great. And then if you want to top it off with some chocolate, just make sure the chocolate is of good quality. It's not coming from like Hershey's and, you know, poor quality chocolate sources like that. Okay, so we've got 7 macaroons ready to go. And now we will take them over into the oven, let them sit over there for a few minutes, and then I'll get my chocolate starting on the stove. So we've taken out the Paleo coconut macaroons out of the oven. I actually just put them in the freezer very quickly for like 2-3 minutes just to make sure they didn't stick to the pan. They kind of solidified a little bit more. So they're all kind of good to go. I'm gonna take some chocolate chips and I'm gonna melt them in this bowl here. I'll tell you about this in a second. Okay, so what I'm doing here is dropping chocolate chips on the ground, and because of the 5-second rule, I'm putting them back in the bowl. But what I'm doing is I'm actually putting the chocolate chips in the bowl as opposed to the pot itself. This is a technique I learned, I'm not too sure where from, but instead of allowing the chocolate chips to melt inside the pot and do whatever, you know, happens with that, we're using the water in the pot to steam the bowl on top of it, and in there the chocolate will melt, right? So now visually you'll have a much more attractive thing to look at as I dip these macaroons in there, and that's a cool way of kind of melting some chocolate, usually on a stovetop as opposed to putting it directly into a pot. So hopefully this doesn't take too long. I don't know, it might take 2-3 minutes. But anyways, just a note on the macaroons, what you'll find is that they are kind of delicate. So if you start playing around with them, they might fall apart a little bit. So as you start to dip them in the chocolate, if you want to, you definitely just want to, you know, make sure that they're nice and stuck together. If they start falling apart, then just, you know, put it in your mouth. Don't worry about the chocolate. You can just take a spoon of chocolate and put it in your mouth as well. Speaking of spoons, we will use a spoon to give our chocolate a little mix. And it's almost melted. Again, I can't remember why we do this in terms of melting the chocolate in a bowl like this as opposed to in the pot, but I just know that it works. And it doesn't, you don't get any burning of the chocolate at the bottom of the bowl like you would if it was in the pot, where it would kind of sit there and burn maybe. So a little bit more and this is almost ready to go. So like with anything, the quality of this recipe is based on the quality of the ingredients. You want to be using good quality. This is 55% cacao. If you want to go even darker than that, 80% cacao would be the ideal. So if you do want a little bit more sugar, you can go less than 80%. 80% and above would be kind of considered bittersweet. Pretty intense in terms of a bitter cacao flavor without some of the sweetness that you might want. So it really depends on your palate. But again, you don't want to go too crazy in terms of high sugar with really much anything. Some of the recipes in this cookbook incorporate dates, some agave, some maple syrup, some honey. But again, you want to keep that in the minimum effective dose. What is the minimum amount that we can use to get that sweetness without really overdoing it? Because a lot of the stuff that's commercially available, as you probably know, has way too much sugar compared to what it needs to have. All right, so that is ready. I'm gonna see if we can just place this over here. So what we're gonna do is, you can see the chocolate here. What we're gonna do is, this is obviously pretty hot on the bottom. So I'm gonna take these macaroons and I'm just gonna give them a little dippy dip. So this one's already starting to break a little bit. Oh my goodness, and we lost them. We lost them. Can we go in and find them? Can we salvage them? Well, you know what? he's just gonna have to get eaten. So I'm gonna put him there. So this is what might happen as you go through this process. It's, you know, it's part of the deal. The other thing you can do is just take a spoonful and put it on the macaroon like that, and then put them back on the tray. This might be a little bit easier actually. So you kind of learn as you go. So we're gonna put the chocolate on the macaroons. We're gonna put the macaroons with the chocolates into the freezer for about 30 minutes to allow the chocolate to solidify. And then you've got a nice tasty treat that you can enjoy after dinner or pretty much whenever you want. I don't know where dessert came from really. I don't know why, you know, we think we have to have it after dinner. Because, oh man, no, don't go. I think it's funny because a lot of desserts, especially the healthy ones, you can have them for breakfast. Maybe not this one, but like the hemp seed balls. The hemp balls, those are incredible. You could actually have those for breakfast. And if you haven't watched that video, be sure to watch that because those are amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop it there because we've run out of chocolate. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna take those coconut macaroons and put them in the freezer for half an hour. When they're done, they will be gone in no time. And these guys will obviously take care of them as well. So those are our paleo coconut macaroons. Couple step process, but if you started this before dinner, kind of get the ball rolling. By the time dinner's finished, if you want to have these for dessert, it's awesome. So there we go. Thank you, Terry, for sharing the recipe. Hope you enjoy it.